We've got unidentified drones flying over the Army base in Washington where the Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense live. Right? Military bases in New Jersey and Florida have raised their threat levels to the second highest designation. The U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia has been hit by drones, and some experts are now openly asking whether the Trump administration might actually benefit from an attack on American soil. That is where we are right now. Now, as far as the specifics with the drones, Fort Lesley J. McNair is an Army base in Washington, D.C., and Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, they both live there. And according to a senior administration official, unidentified drones appeared above the base on a single night sometime in the last 10 days. So that sparked increased security and conversations about moving the two, though as of now, reportedly they haven't been moved. But then with that, you had the Chief Pentagon spokesperson, Sean Parnell, declining to comment, saying the department cannot comment on the secretary's movements for security reasons, and reporting on such movements is grossly irresponsible, with the State Department also not commenting either. And a big thing with this is that drone threats, they are straight out of Iran's playbook. After the US killed a prominent Iranian general back in 2020, there were similar incidents involving Donald Trump and other officials. Also during the 2024 campaign, the Secret Service repeatedly encountered unidentified drones near Trump's team during a press conference in LA and a motorcade through rural Pennsylvania. And with all this, in September, you had officials telling Trump that Iran wanted to kill him. Right, and these newest drone sightings are happening as threats to domestic bases and overseas diplomatic posts have escalated to the point of a global security alert. This week, Joint Base McGuire, Dix, Lakehurst in New Jersey and MacDill Air Force Base in Florida both raised their force protection level to the second highest designation, meaning that the commander has intelligence indicating an attack is possible. Right, MacDill has actually gone into lockdown twice this week. Monday for a suspicious package that closed the visitor center for hours, and on Wednesday for an unspecified security event that triggered an hours-long shelter in place. And a big thing is that MacDill is home to U.S. Central Command, the headquarters running military operations against Iran. So, the fact that it's on heightened alert, it's not just procedural. And then overseas, it's worse. On Tuesday, the State Department ordered all diplomatic posts worldwide to immediately undertake security evaluations, citing the ongoing and developing situation in the Middle East and the potential for spillover effects. Also, earlier this month, a suspected Iranian drone struck the parking lot of the U.S. consulate in Dubai, sparking a fire with massive plumes of black smoke, with Rubio saying that all personnel were accounted for, but also added, our embassies and our diplomatic facilities are under direct attack from a terroristic regime. Also, Saudi Arabia's defense ministry said that the American embassy in Riyadh was hit by 2 drones, resulting in minor damage and the embassy closing. Iranian missile and drone attacks have also caused explosions in Iraq, Kuwait, the UAE, and other countries where the US has military bases. And none of this was unforeseeable. You've got the New York Times reporting that Western security officials were concerned even before the initial strike that Iran could use proxies to conduct retaliatory attacks against American and European targets. Colin Clark, the executive director of the Sufan Center, said at the time, if the US military campaign against Iran is existential for the supreme leader and the most senior members of the IRGC, I would fully expect Tehran to order terror attacks abroad, including in Europe. The US killed the supreme leader. Trump's been talking about wiping out the rest of the regime, so this concern isn't just a hypothetical thing anymore. And it's also where the conversation kind of takes a turn, right? That we need to be honest about, even though it's uncomfortable. Right? Because you have some people speculating that the Trump administration might actually benefit from an attack on American soil. With, for example, The Guardian highlighting that such an attack could give Trump a pretext to declare a state of emergency or even cancel the midterms. With Yale historian Timothy Snyder writing, self-terrorism might not have been the initial aim, but as time goes by and failures and atrocities mount, its appeal will grow. Trump could think that he has much to gain. The war itself makes terrorism more likely. And then also you had Stephen Cash, the executive director of the Steady State, a group of retired national security officers, putting it more directly, saying, of course, there's going to be retaliation. It's a rational response on their part. And then also adding, it may be that this is what Trump's interested in. He has spent a year trying to convince Americans that we are facing a terrible domestic threat. Suddenly, this unprecedented and unprovoked attack on another country, probably in violation of the Constitution and international law, is going to create the very conditions that he unsuccessfully tried to convince us would justify extraordinary powers of the presidency. Now, to be clear, nobody, and that includes myself, is saying that the administration is actively inviting an attack, but starting a war that will provoke retaliation while simultaneously building the legal and political framework to expand presidential power in the event of a domestic crisis is a pattern that serious people in the national security world are pointing at and saying, look at this fucking please. And whether this setup is intentional or it is just the logical consequence of reckless decision-making, it doesn't matter. The threat is real. The conditions are being created, and the same administration that didn't plan for the Strait of Hormuz is now responsible for protecting the homeland from the blowback.